Have you hit your 40s and 50s and heard yourself say, I don't feel like myself anymore? I've lost my spark. Nothing sounds fun. I have no energy. But is that just life? Is it just what happens when you start to age? Or could your hormones really be playing a huge role, bigger than we realize? Today, we're exploring the connection between hormones, joy, energy, and fun with one of my all-time favorite humans, Dr. You. I want you to know how prescribing fun might help you sprinkle a little zest back into your life. Hey, fun friend. Welcome to the Finding Fun Experiment podcast, where we crack your code to health and wellness by teaching you how to have more fun in your life. With me, Treena Ennis, your expert and host, believing when we make fun, laughter, and play a priority in our lives as a must-have, not a nice-to-have, your world and the world around you is brighter, lighter, and a lot more healthy. Today, I am here having fun with Dr. Ursula Luitingh. She's a family physician. She's a philanthropist. She's a mom, sister, daughter, wife, friend, and one of those rays of sunshine that just lights up the world to so many people around her friends, her family, her patients, her neighbors. Anytime she walks in a room, the sun ray just seems to shine on her head, and she shares that with everyone. So to get to know Dr. You better, I asked her to do some fun homework. So Ursula, how excited are you for this conversation today on prescribing fun? And tell us about your homework.
I'm very excited, Treena. Thanks for having me. I thank you for saying that about me being the ray of sunshine, because
You are. I can see
honestly,
it in the screen even right now. You got sun rays and it's raining outside.
and you too, you've got that beautiful lamb behind you, and it is. So you are for sure the embodiment of that, and I'm glad to be here and have this conversation. And you gave me some homework. You asked me, what are the three, just give me three ideas of what fun to me looks like. And so like I had to think about that, just because I wanted to be, just clear about what that feels like to me. And the very first thing that came to mind for me was really, I love connections with friends and family and people that are important to me. So I love to visit with people and just have great conversations, things that makes me feel like it fills my bucket. It gives me energy to sort of just continue, right? And I also really like new experiences. I like to go to events, maybe do some new travel, which I haven't done a lot about and looking forward to. I'd like to, be in nature, and because that always is very inspirational, inspiring, and it's very fulfilling. It doesn't matter what that looks like outside. And another thing that I love to do, as you might know, is I really like to be creative and, doing things as I've noticed throughout my life. I think I am both left and right brained, but they work so well together. But I really need to do something creative when I'm really stressed. If I'm not having fun, I really feel like my brain needs that imagination, that sort of relaxing creativity. So I love to do that. But one thing that I think I want to do more, that I don't get enough time, or I need to prioritize, that is really getting outside a little bit more, to just get nature to fill my bucket too, for sure.
So tell me why on your list. So you actually gave me four things. So connections, new experiences, nature, and being creative. So the nature, why is that one the hardest for you?
I think I need to make time for it. It's because I always see it as, I don't just see a walk out. I want to have an experience when I'm out, if you know what I mean. And I might have to, rethink that. But to me, it's like I have to carve out specific time to do it, so that I can enjoy it. I can't see myself going from 100 miles into a walk and then, coming out of it. I kind of need to prep myself into that,
Okay.
de-stressing a little bit. And
Mhm.
then I know a lot of people do walks at lunch, but for me, it would just psych me up more than what it would relax me, because I really need to take it in. So
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
just carving out time and
Mhm.
prioritizing
Mhm.
that piece for me.
Okay. And having it be an experience, not just, you don't just want to do a walk around the block. You want to
Yeah.
actually be in
Ex-
trees and breathe and stop and
yes.
reflect and listen to the noises and,
Yes.
the whole
Yes.
tree
Exactly.
baiting experience. So,
Exactly.
so interesting. Just to share with you, I've been doing some homework lately and a lot of reflection and particularly around time with friends and how hard it is for a lot of women in particular to to prioritize that time with friends, and it's so important, right? Because it lifts us up. It helps our hormones. It's good for our confidence. It's good for our brains. It's good for our hearts and all sorts of things. But again, it falls to the bottom of the list as a luxury. And so one of the research pieces I have been doing about trying to help people fix that is again scheduling in that time and treating it like almost like a hairdressing appointment, right? When you think about
Yeah,
how
yeah.
many times do you cancel your hairdressing appointment, you try everything in your power not to cancel it
Yeah.
because it's important, right? You got to get your roots done, cover those grays. You got things coming up. You don't want to look shabby. So you preserve like that. You have to treat that time like a hair appointment that you
Mhm.
do everything you can to protect it. But it's booked in
Mhm.
your calendar. I don't know about you, but I book my hair a year out, like
Long in
every
advance. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and so that's a little trick that you can try with your nature. Just book it in your calendar and don't, cancel it on yourself. Treat it like your
Mhm.
hair appointment. So let me know how that
Good.
goes.
Okay, good. I did it well, so I'll definitely do that.
And I love nature, so I'm your gal
Yeah,
pal there. I'm
nature
your
girl.
buddy. Yeah,
Yes.
nature girl, yeah, your fun buddy. Okay, well, let's get into this. So, are hormones really affecting our fun? I'm personally really curious about this. Just a little side story. My mom, Margaret, who Dr. Yu has met, and bless her, she's passed away now, and I'm sure she'd love listening to all this podcast craziness. And she had always believed, like, menopause and perimenopause and PMS was all just bunk in our heads. She was like a stoic 1950s strong, like a bull woman, suck it up. You didn't cry. You didn't feel like when you're in pain, you didn't share it with anybody. They're like very strong stoic woman. And so she really didn't believe in all the hormone nonsense. And so I have a bit of bias with that in my own life. And I know I absolutely disagree with my mom. I witness my own close friends suffer. And so, but I am one of those where I don't feel really impacted, knock on wood, because tomorrow or tonight could wake up in a bunch of sweats, not sleep for the next 2 years. But I haven't really impacted by any hormone craziness. So tell me, how real is this? How real is that hormones can affect our fun?
Well, yeah, add something a little bit later why I think you're not experiencing those ups
Oh,
and
okay.
downs for
Okay.
sure.
And I'm grateful.
I
Thank
mean,
you for however that
yeah,
happens. Yeah.
yeah. Exactly. I mean, honestly, there's a huge connection between our hormones and obviously how we feel. As you know, estrogen in our bodies is one of the major drivers of all female sort of like hormones. It's the most important hormone in our body. And throughout our lifetime, it really supports us from puberty, menstruation, pregnancy, and then, of course, when the menopause hits. So, estrogen is so important in so many areas of our body, but huge connection to our mood and how we feel when the estrogen drops. And as we know, there's a couple of times in our life that it happens. It doesn't just happen at menopause, but when you are pre menstruation, there's that estrogen drop. Usually, when people ovulate in the beginning of their cycle, they feel much better and sort of like elated
Mm,
because the estrogen rises. And then
mm,
just before you have your period, it drops. So we are very sensitive to those hormonal shifts. And obviously, some people would be maybe a little bit more just because of our constitution. But there's a huge association and a very strong connection between our estrogen and also dopamine.
mm,
And so it makes sense that naturally, when our estrogen is high, our dopamine receptors in our brain are super sensitive and they get stimulated. And so the dopamine in our brain is the things that makes us feel elated and
mhm,
well and happy and sort of like feelings of, just a wonderful feeling of you've got stress relief or whatever. So that's very much associated. So the moment that, women experience a drop in estrogen, it's not the estrogen itself that gives you all those things. It's because the dopamine also in
mm,
our bodies
mhm,
drops. And then there's other things that maybe we could discuss a little bit later about our stress hormones and things that are all affected by the
mhm,
estrogen.
mhm,
So it's not in our heads. It's a true thing that
mhm,
happens. And And I think in your case, honestly,
Mhm.
Treena, I
Mm.
think you're just so dopamine driven
I
because
call it like a natural high. Like there's no
it
booze, there's
is
no drugs, and
nothing. And I've
woo!
checked, there's nothing like,
She doing cocaine?
yes, exactly. I think it's just you have taught yourself to
Mm,
just rely on all these things that stimulates that dopamine. And
mm,
so
mhm,
even if your estrogen wants to dig down a
mhm,
little bit, you're
mhm,
just like stimulating yourself with other
mhm,
ways to get
mhm,
that dopamine up and keeping
mhm,
it up there. And I think it's a natural thing. So
mhm,
your whole methodology and
mhm,
your whole way of thinking is really counteracting a lot of the things that I think other women are very sensitive to and don't know how to fix it and don't
mhm,
know how to
mhm,
look outside of just, oh, this is
mhm,
my hormones
mhm,
and
mhm,
poor me, or I don't know where to go, or I don't even know if it is me. Maybe it's something else or someone
mhm.
else or the environment. But I think you've cracked the code. That's what
Okay.
I
Well,
think.
that is super interesting. So I never really thought of it that way. I was just really assuming when you talk about estrogen, like maybe I just had a lot of it. Somehow I was genetically born with an abundance of it and it doesn't drop for whatever reason. And I would say too, even in my younger years, like again, I could never tell when my period was coming because I never had that like those signals of
Hmm.
anything happening. So again, maybe like you said, I was able to, have these tools early on in my life to always
Mm.
keep that natural high going and so that it could counteract against any of the dips. So thank you for that. So again, I was just assuming I was just had naturally high levels and abundance of all these things that were just keeping me high. So so like what really breaks my heart is when I hear women say, I'm just not fun anymore. I just really can't. I just have no energy for fun. And I think about, oh my gosh, like it's just such a cycle, a downward slope, a slippery slope, right? Of again, all your everything dipping, not having the dopamine hits, not having your estrogen to keep you high, and then mentally, getting back out of it again. It hurts my heart because we know how much fun
Mhm.
can be in your life.
Yeah.
So this impact, when you talk about the impact on women, how I know you have a lot of women in your practice as patients, because we're
Mhm.
drawn to you with your women's health knowledge and your expertise. What percent of women are being impacted by this that you're seeing?
You know what? I think it's much higher than what I think we actually see or talk about
Mm,
because, like you said, with your mom, people are just under the impression, just suck it up, you know?
mhm,
But I
mhm,
think there's more and more focus on it and definitely more talk about it. So honestly, I'm going to say definitely it might be higher in other practices, but I would say, I have a happy patient in her 30s, in her 40s, and suddenly she starts hitting that 50s, and it's like a switch almost where things just change. And it's definitely 60% of women going through menopause that experience that.
wow.
They and if a lot of women are just, their life, how do they sleep? How do they feel in their physical body? Do they have aches or pains? We always hear, oh, with the age comes aches or pains. Well, estrogen can do that. You can start hurting. Or maybe you're not
Mm,
sleeping well because maybe you're having a hot flash at night. Or your stress hormones are just not regulated you know because of the menopause. So there's inflammation that can happen. So there's so many things that happens when we hit menopause that it just becomes more visible or known, but women don't talk about it. It's like
okay.
so many things in our life. We just think that we need to that this is just what we dealt with. We just
Mhm,
have to face it. We have to face menstruation. We have to face pregnancy,
mhm,
and menopause is just a natural thing. So a
mm,
lot of women I find sometimes have talked to their friends about it for a while, or they just really suffer in silence and relationships are breaking down because they are irritable. They're not themselves anymore. They don't have confidence. And it's really sad actually by the time that they come in. And it's also magical to see how they change when they
yes.
have a little bit of that super estrogen sauce in them. And
Is it like
you
a
know,
magic sprinkle?
Yes, exactly. And, I also think for the same reason, women are, if I think I would to go and tell somebody, just go and have a walk in nature and do something really
Mhm,
good for yourself, I think they would be like, are you serious?
mhm,
You
I
know,
see.
because
Yeah.
because women don't always understand how their bodies, how the relationship between, you know, doing something fun or good for yourself or a bonding experience or a great connection. They don't
Mm-hmm.
really understand how it would impact them because
Mm-hmm.
science don't really focus on that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes,
So,
which is, exactly why I'm having you here today to talk to us because it is part of my research in 2026 on prioritizing fun was around like guilt and judgment for women, and it's like big, right? It's big,
mhm.
big in our minds, and the science seems to be something more we can gravitate and hold on to as far as
Yes.
fun, right? Which, like, again, if I will die happy if we can get to some doctors in this world prescribing fun for patients and the
Yes.
patients taking that seriously and going, great doctor, I'm seeing you now again in a month. And, yeah, I've been in nature twice. I've booked 2 dates with girlfriends. I did something for myself and, bought this book and had a whole day reading in a hammock and, whatever the things are. Like those are the things that, again, when you're dipping low and certain levels, that can bring you up and
Yeah, it's a
stimulate you back.
recharge for sure.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, a recharge. So you've answered so one of my questions I was gonna ask you was what are the common signs of women when your hormones are affecting your mood and energy and ability? So we talked about sleep, the ability to handle stress can be challenging. Your confidence starts to lack, pain being one of them. And in fact, the pain one just happened to me last night, actually. I just got off a week holidays, super relaxed, went back to work this week, had a super awesome week. And I didn't feel any stress or anything. There's nothing crazy in my life going on, but my back is so tight and my neck was tight. And so I just booked a massage last night, miraculously found someone that could see me last night at like 7 o'clock at night. And oh my gosh, like
What a change.
what a change! But I was like, "Okay, so I obviously am tight, something's going on," and an hour later, I invested whatever, $150. My husband rolled his eyeballs as I walked up the door. He's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Going for a massage." He's like, Why do you need a massage?" I'm like, "I don't know why I need a massage, I just know I need one." And just again, no guilt, no judgment on myself, like, obviously, like, I can feel it and I need it, and it was just, again, giving myself permission to give myself that hour, invest that money, because it was at night, I couldn't get a RMT with my insurance coverage, so I just decided to pay for it in my pocket, but that $150 was well worth the expense. Do it because it just again, I just feel like a whole like, it was like, poof, like, back to all my, you know, uh, dopamine. It's back up high again. Took it out.
Back up to the clean activities and thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was so awesome. So maybe then what that pain did come from, again, something's dipping in my
I
body
think.
and being able to realize it. And you talked a lot about where women are feeling too vulnerable, which again, it's hard for me to even believe in 2026 that, you know, my mom's attitude is still out there in this world. That we're not
Mhm.
normalizing menopause or talking about it or sharing the pain or getting
Mhm.
help, whether it's going to your doctor or just treating yourself to a massage or whatever you need, that we're not normalizing it. But 60% of women are coming forward to you in your practice and then 40% aren't. So it's not too bad. So maybe
Yeah.
if we could get it up there into to addressing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about then a bit about about confidence.
Okay.
I have witnessed that in some of my friendships where perhaps maybe a group of us are trying new things or, it could be like learning a game or it could be doing a new experience and learning perhaps some friends who were all, used to be all in for these kind of experiences, all of a sudden not as confident or comfortable or, worried maybe how they might catch on to something or and just losing their confidence and willingness to try new things. So, what are you
Mhm.
seeing how hormones impact that?
Well, I think again, we are, when the menopause happens and when our estrogen dips down, there's also definitely evidence that we are, let's talk a little bit about the stress hormones, the cortisol
Mm,
levels in our body and adrenaline and stuff like that. So there's definitely impacts that would have on us as well. So, we talk about fatigue of the body, but it impacts you where, you're not getting restorative sleep.
mm, Mhm.
So your sleep is terrible. And we also know that, when the estrogen drops, it even, when the way that it affects the brain is it's brain stops having the neuroplasticity. That means like the ability to reconnect, read, and learn new things. And that's also indirectly related to the
Mm,
dopamine.
mhm,
So if dopamine increases because we're having fun and we're doing physical stuff that we enjoy, those things helps the brain to regenerate things. So again, what was first? Was it the fact that you stopped having fun, or is it because your estrogen dropped and therefore your dopamine is affected, and that's causing all these effects? But it's not uncommon that women start just not feeling themselves. They don't feel like themselves, and they start questioning themselves, like, is this me, or is it my personality? What did I do wrong? Because
mm,
the sometimes the change is also so sneaky and so gradual
mhm,
that it's not like you wake up one morning and you're in menopause or perimenopause. It's very
mhm,
gradual. And
mhm,
I usually tell people to, I look, well, first of all, if I know them well, I can just gauge by the fact that there's no personality disorder. There was nothing dramatic happening in their life, no stressful event. It's just a gradual onset. And women say, the most common thing they say is, I just don't feel like myself. And so that also means, their confidence, like you would say, their confidence is gone. They are uh, so much more aware of brain fog and fatigue and forgetfulness, even. And so a lot of women are scared to say that because they think that, family members would think there's something really wrong with
yeah,
them.
gonna have
But
dementia.
it's exactly.
Yeah,
And
mhm,
that, what would that mean?
mhm,
Especially when people start noticing it, but why can't you remember those things? But it
mhm,
honestly is all related to the estrogen in our brains. So that is something it's natural when it happens, but it's unnatural in the fact that we shouldn't just let it be. We can
mhm,
do something about that.
mhm, mhm,
And just even acknowledging it, I think sometimes to women, saying to them, what's going on with you is you're going through menopause. You are in the perimenopausal phase of your life. It just gives them a little bit of a, okay, I can take a deep breath.
mhm,
Because again, unless they are taking hormones to counterbalance that, or just learning new ways to enhance that estrogen,
mhm,
or understanding then the correlation between estrogen and dopamines,
mhm,
like introducing the fun or activity or those good feel things in their life, unless they're doing something about it in that sense, it can just become a real big, spiral for them.
yeah,
So, but just being acknowledged does
mhm,
really help to just understand how it goes. So yeah, I think I can see how people's confidence and their ability to want to interact and do new things would be affected because, we just stripped away from all those things that we were once so good at. And
mhm,
suddenly it just gets to that critical moment of, now I'm realizing things. I'm just not the same anymore. I don't want to interact the way that I did, but it's not normal for this
mhm,
person.
mhm, mhm,
So that's what I always say. Don't worry about it's not, you don't have a funny personality disorder. You're really just experiencing your estrogen going, haywire and starting to fail you a little bit for sure.
So I presume then you do a lot of testing on the estrogen levels,
Yes.
and then you could tell, okay, this is like dipping substantially. This is why you're feeling not like
Yes.
yourself, and then here's what you can do about it. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a just a probably a common test that you do for many women. That's
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. And of course,
yeah.
a lot of it is in the history. It's not just all in the investigations, but a lot is in the history of the person. But it's wonderful if we know patients and just know, oh, this is very typical. And a lot of times people think they have to have not had a period anymore to be going through this.
Mm.
But it's that perimenopause, that before the period actually stops, where all these nasty changes start happening already.
Is the nastiness different for everybody, like before, during, after, or it's just a crapshoot, or
I would say there's a lot of commonalities. I wouldn't say that it's completely different for everybody, but if you talk to a lot of women, then you realize, oh my goodness, this sounds like the same old, same old. It's the
mm,
same. The person is telling the same story, maybe a tiny
mm,
little version, but really it's all about, I don't feel myself anymore. I'm not interested in sex anymore.
mm,
I've lost
mhm,
interest in so many other things that I used to enjoy. I can't sleep. I'm hurting. I've got hot flashes. I'm so irritable. People
mm,
just can't
mhm.
even believe it, but in different forms, but it all sort of really looks the same. And some of the, some women are going through periods very quickly and it restores itself. But a lot of women just like it can be years for them to,
Mm,
go from start to finish, just like go
mhm,
through it. And life is, stressful and jobs are stressful. A lot of women in their 40s, 50s are in high
mhm,
positions in their life, lots of
mhm.
responsibility, having to prove themselves because the young people are in there and trying to, show them that they're no longer, on top of things. So there's lots of stress for women. So yeah. And
Like, when you think it's so crazy, right? Like, what like, it should happen at the earlier part of your life
I don't
where you,
know.
like, don't care, you got confidence, and you talk about everything, and then as
I
you
know.
age, whammo. And I can't even I mean, I feel that again, when we talked earlier and looking at myself as an example of not really being impacted by this, and I just think, "Oh my gosh, like, if I did not sleep, how that would change my
Yeah.
life." Like, and then sex,
Yeah.
like, not having
Exactly.
sex, like, that's one of the best dopamine hits, like, talk
I
about
know.
feeling
Exactly.
high,
Yeah.
and yeah, like, having an orgasm and feeling sexy and feeling attractive and being attracted to somebody else, if you're missing that in your life, holy,
I know.
like
And a lot of times women, start obviously women unfortunately always try and find the fault with them, first.
right,
Like
right.
I don't feel attractive because maybe there's something wrong with me, or, because you're not attractive, you're less confident. So your husband might not
Mhm,
approach you. So it's
mhm.
again, we are just taking all that responsibility. But yeah, it's a terrible thing that women go through in that sense. And again, thank goodness, evidence in medicine is keeps revolving and changing. But once we were told hormones are the greatest thing in life, and then we were told, "Oh no, stay away from it because we're hurting people. It's
Mm,
not good for you." And I think we're back at the hormones are
mm,
really something that we need to give to women, and not necessarily a bad thing for us. So I'm glad that it's
mm,
come around the evidence, because we obviously, as you know, are a lot evidence based and we
mhm,
follow what medicine tells us and research.
mm.
So sometimes we are, we have to sort of listen with one ear to that, but you have to use your common sense too when it comes to that.
Okay, so that's interesting. I just wanna recap what you just said. So research then for a period of years said, "Yeah, prescribe hormone replacements and estrogen and blah, blah, blah." But then there was a period, like, how many years did the research say, "Don't do that"? Like, what years are we talking about?
I can't tell you exactly the years. I mean, I'd have to research that, but I would say there was a good probably 10 years or more where, we were told that estrogen, it was thought that estrogen would be good for us and it would prevent women from having heart disease.
Mm, mm,
And then there was research stating that no, women still died and it wasn't
mm,
protective as we
mm,
thought. But I
mhm,
think for me, the evidence was more in women that were already having cardiovascular issues or other issues were struggling still with whatever that would be. So it wasn't that it was causing the issues; it probably was just not as protective as
mm,
what we were
mhm,
thinking.
mhm,
But the evidence is now again showing towards, women struggle with so many aspects of their life. And yes, there is protection, but it's not going to prevent you from, if you eat bad and if you have diabetes and you have severe high blood pressure or cholesterol, that's not going to necessarily change those things. But the benefit of giving it to us for all the other reasons that we've talked about completely outweighs the potential risks. And again, there
mm,
are definitely very specific reasons why people should not have hormones or with
mhm,
very
mhm,
good informed consent, because those risks like breast cancer and
mhm,
things like that
mhm,
still exist. But the benefits really of the percentage of women struggling because they weren't being given hormones liberally, versus maybe the small percent of people that might potentially struggle or have issues, so I think it outweighed, the
mhm.
big warning.
Mhm. Yeah, that
Um,
makes sense. And really that's, I know there's a lot of movement in, menopause with, family physicians and women's health, and really going to your family physician to say, "Hey, like, I
Mhm.
really do need help," and having family physicians being supported to learn more about women's health and be more educated and create that space for it or lean into expertise in that matters is really, really important, and I know your doctor is there for you, and they want you to sleep, and they want you to be able to manage your stress, and they want you to be able to go outside and play and with your friends and go have fun and don't miss out on life because
Mhm.
we only get one to live, so let's live it well before it's taken
Exactly.
away from us. Okay, well, let's talk about prescribing more fun. If fun was a prescription, and again, I'm like completely putting the vision out there in the world, like, tell me how you would prescribe this to women
Okay, let's be very basic. It has to be on a prescription pad.
with your signature on it.
Yes. And then it might feel like it's something you need to do, like
Yes.
but I think what you actually brought up was a very I have actually never thought about it in the sense of, like you had mentioned in the beginning, it has to be an appointment with yourself. It has to
Mhm.
be a
Mhm.
specialist appointment with nature.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
has to be part of your approach. It has to be underscored in, you know, when we talk about a diabetic, we tell them you have to eat better. You
Mhm.
can't be eating
Mhm.
sugar. Well,
Mhm.
if we talk about women's health or stress, one of those things is what are you doing to take away the stress in your life? You know what are you doing for that as a person, so it has to become part of just one of those basic things, like you should have more fun in your life, you should do something for yourself, you have to prioritize your own wellness, and I think it just should be forming part of that conversation, because I think, as you know how physicians work, we try to solve problems. Like if
Mhm.
you show up and you look like you might be in menopause, first of all, I want to make sure there's nothing else dramatic also going on that
Mhm.
I also, might be critical, and I need to rule out if you have any deficiencies, or is
Mhm.
your thyroid not working, or are you at the brink of diabetes or whatever. So I think we as physicians sometimes just need to relearn that basic natural things, or things that are so accessible, should form part of our prescribing.
Mhm.
And it is I think it's something we need to learn. I wouldn't say that I'm 100% great at it, and I don't think that other physicians are necessarily, getting it all, but I think we're getting there. I think the conversation for sure is out there about prescribing nature.
Mhm. Yes, I've heard that. Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
Nature prescribing and the
Mhm.
benefits of it. And I just like the environment, I don't think the conversation is happening enough. It's happening and it's starting. But I think it's something that, again, evidence based. There's
Mhm.
so much benefit
Mhm.
from the fact that we have fun and make connections, and
Mhm.
how it releases our dopamine and our serotonins and
Mhm.
our oxytocin in our breasts and all these things, and reduces all the stress hormones. Like, there's just the evidence is there. We
It
just
is there.
have to grab it.
Yeah, and I talk a lot about when your cup is full, right? And you're living lively and you're doing, all the things you need to do, whether it's having new experiences or again, nature or, the list that you mentioned at the beginning. When that tough thing hits you, like someone dies or someone you love is in pain or you lose your job or your kid is hurting, you're so much more resilient. You're
Mhm.
so much stronger.
Yes.
But when that bad thing happens in your life, because it will, that's life, I think it goes up and down like a roller coaster, and your cup is not full and that hits you, then it can
Mhm.
run you over, it's hard to manage, it's hard to come to terms with it, you can't support the person in your life that you need to because it hits you in such a hard way, and there's just, from just even a simple resilience-based lens, because
Mhm.
we know when we're stronger, you put your life jacket on first, you can help the people around you,
Yes,
swim,
exactly.
and that's really, really one of my big messages out to the world. If you think it's selfish because you've, maybe been raised that way or whatever you think society is telling you, it's not selfish because you are being strong for the people, your
Mhm.
village, right? You can be there for them in a way that you want to be there for them to help them.
Totally.
So, yeah, prescribing for resilience could be another prescription for sure. So, I'm just curious, like, say you said, "You know what? I after this conversation, I am motivated to prescribe fun to my patients or start to what the ones I feel are ready for it." Like, do you think some your patients would, like, get it, or would they run out screaming and give you a rating on Doctor MD that you've
Yeah.
lost your marbles? Or like, what how do you think a patient would take it?
Well, I think maybe a couple of years ago, probably would people would probably think that I'm a little bit off, or
Mhm,
anybody else prescribe it, or that you're just lazy and you don't really want to do anything for them. But I think
mhm,
honestly, again, it's about having the time to also prove to them, listen, here's evidence that suggests this, and we know that it actually exists. So, and it's actually very fundamental sort of like things that we've known, but maybe just not have put enough attention on it. So I think you just have to, like when I would start somebody on any medication, I'd have a discussion with them about why I think it's the right thing for them to do and use the evidence, because if I prescribe a medication to someone, I have to tell them why this specific medication
mhm.
is helpful and how it will work and what are the side effects. In this case, they won't be, but what are the side effects? So, I have that discussion, same thing. And luckily, we can show them evidence. We can show them the correlation between fun and our brain and all the hormones that it stimulates or suppresses. And a lot of people, I think, are reading a little bit more wider now with
Mhm.
AI and the internet over many, many years. So a lot of people are doing a little bit of that research, but I think sometimes they still need, how can I say, they still need that sort of support, or that support from a physician to say, you're okay if you're going to do this as
Yeah,
a
uh-huh.
step in helping yourself. It's not, and again, like you say, if we prescribe it, it's different than say, oh, you should try it. It's more
Right.
like,
Mhm,
make it a priority. This is important. Like, you
mhm.
should definitely do this. I want you to come back and tell me how many times you did this,
Mhm. Yes.
Not
Yeah,
just,
I'll book you that
yeah,
follow-up in a month, and
exactly.
when you leave here today, can you commit to booking 1 date with a friend or a group of friends, or try something new, and then, yeah, come back in a month and let's talk about how that made you feel and if that's something to
Yeah,
do again. Yeah.
exactly. It's like making it part of a follow up, and not just like, oh, I can tick it off. I talked about, you know, moving and doing something fun, because yeah, women stop thinking that way, right? They just don't,
Mhm.
they just think, I don't have time. I don't have time with this. And the more sort of down we feel, the less motivated we are, the
I
less we
know.
want to do it. It's just that it's that sucky sort of spiral, and everything
Mhm.
just stops. So
I know, it's like a I visualize it like this, black cloud that just keeps growing and growing and then just starts to, like, cover your whole
engulf you.
body. Yeah, and then you're like, "Where's the sunshine that I can."
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's real and it's
it's very
important,
real.
and also when, we talked earlier about, this is the stage of our lives where we are, the elder of our profession. I mean, you talked about where there's younger generation trying to, like, yeah, maybe nudge you out. I think of it opposite of I take more responsibility that I'm here to mentor the young generation, give
Mhm,
them all my
mhm,
knowledge so they can meld it with their own. So, like, it's my responsibility, and I take that really seriously. So that's, like, heavy on me. I really
mhm.
want to teach everything I can, to set up wherever I'm at for success, because I feel it's my give back time
And a
at this
legacy,
age.
right,
A
too, yeah.
legacy, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and you wanna leave the world in a better place than you
Mhm.
arrived, and what contribute to it, so that's big for people. Yeah, women are in, like, big CEO positions, or again, you're a phys a phy you're, in our community, you're a seasoned physician in the community, like, as an elder to the rest of the generation, that's, like, people looking up to you and admiring, respecting you. That's a weight that you carry with you, and
Mhm.
so if we're not at our best to give that back or to accept that responsibility, then it's really, really unfortunate. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you at the end, like, what simple things can women start doing today and to support their hormones and feeling alive again? I feel I heard, talk to your doctor, go get your levels checked out, like, that's a real
Okay.
thing. Be real about not feeling like yourself, because there's
Yeah,
again, Ursula has
100%.
60% of your patients are coming forward, and women are saying, "I don't." So you're not alone, And we talked about fun, about, again, prescribing fun. And so if you can't get into your doctor this week to prescribe fun, prescribe yourself some fun. And, I think for fun, it's and I talk a lot about this in the podcast and a lot of my writing, it just is something simple. So Ursula, when you said, a new experience or being creative, so I'm just going to share with the listeners because they'll love to hear this about you. So Ursula is she loves decorating and making things look pretty. And we recently in our community had a fundraising event. And Ursula turned this boring golf course room into like a magical fairy tale. And I'm pretty sure you did this like single-handedly. And there was some beautiful floral like flowers that were made out of crepe paper or some paper you use. And each flower took you how long to make?
Like an hour.
And how many flowers were there?
Like 21 or 22.
And that was only one little tiny decor piece that Ursula did. But for Ursula, I'm imagining, she's sitting there at night, maybe her husband's watching the, football game or something. And I could just picture her on her couch, like working on these flowers. And at the end of a tough day at work and your sparkles are flying because this is something you're making pretty and you're making beautiful. And you see the vision of this room, I'm sure, in your head already, knowing these flowers are going to be like a wow factor. And, so your fun thing can just be something small. It doesn't have to be, it can just be like making a flower, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be traveling to, Egypt or Italy, or it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can just be a little thing that brings you joy and makes you happy. So anything else that I missed that we can share with the listeners about the simple things that women can start doing today?
No, I think you hit it right on the head there. I think it's very important to just take the time to validate like you had said already, validate your emotions, validate your feelings, understand where you're at. And then, just try and find those things that it's sometimes things that women have also forgotten in their life. Like, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. Those are usually things that used to bring you fun. So to try and sort of just reconnect with those things and, inspire your friends to do the same thing with you. If do it in a group if you need to do that, because that's also so much fun because you get to connect as well. So inspire others and don't think that anything you do for yourself is ever selfish, because in the end, like Treena said, it is. If you put the mask on your own face, like if we fly, they always tell you do that before you can help a kid, or the life jacket analogy. It's so important to look after yourself because you're not really worth anything to your family, your friends, or your community if you don't take care of yourself.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. So what do you wish every woman in their 40s, 50s, 60s knew about hormones and fun?
I think that we need to understand the deep and very strong correlation between our hormones and how it affects our bodies, but also how the decline can dramatically change how we feel, and how the fun that we have in our life and the good things that we do, physical activities, things that make us laugh and feel good, how that affects the dopamine in our brains and endorphins, and the very, very important connection between estrogen and those hormones. And how, if we can do these natural things for ourselves, how that will help our estrogen deficiency and make us feel better. So, just understanding the deep correlation between those two things and how we can definitely do things ourselves to help ourselves in having fun and being out there and be playful and lively and enjoying life the way that we're supposed to.
I love it. The way we're supposed to. Yes. Well, this has been a very rich conversation, knowledgeable, and I think for the listener, you're really going to appreciate reflecting on this conversation and perhaps even listening to it again, because there was some really good information. I always like to wrap up with one aha, one and one what the. So going through my chicken scratch
That's
notes,
good.
'cause I feel like I'm a doctor. I can't even read my own handwriting. I don't know how that happened, but so I feel perhaps my what the might be to who's listening that I know we made this conversation sound perhaps easy, and because we want you to know that this is accessible for everybody, but it is still hard. Like when we heard from Dr. You at the beginning, she knows she needs to get out in nature. She knows that's important for her. it's still hard. So here's a doctor saying it's still hard for me. So
Uh-huh.
it is hard. And it's, but the good news, there's a lot of tools that you can use to
Mhm.
make it simpler for you. And again, just, keep it simple. Just one small step forward, and then just keep building on that. So my what was, again, just being aware that it's even hard for a physician to achieve her fun list. My aha was definitely that estrogen. Again, I assumed perhaps some people who maybe are like me had a lot of it, so it wasn't like an issue, but be interesting to see where my estrogen actually is at compared to then going, yeah, so is it, really, then the proof is it because I've been able to figure out the ways to keep my dopamine high in different ways and not let
Uh-huh.
the dip impact me. And then my was that the impact of the hormones were sneaky. You said that. You said they're sneaky. They sneak in and you don't even realize it, right? Like the self-doubt or the confidence, or maybe not sleeping well just becomes like normalized to you. And then when you hear someone sleeping 8 hours a night and the same age as you, you're like, you sleep at night? Like, I thought everybody could sleep anymore at 50 something. So the sneakiness. So I feel that's a to me, because that's something that you should, I don't know how you can be aware of it, but know it sneaks in like that. So
Mhm.
question it, right? Bring it to your
Uh-huh.
doctor,
Uh-huh.
question it,
Uh-huh.
and don't let that normalize with
Yeah.
you in your life.
So
Sneaky hormones.
good.
What
I
the
know.
heck? Darn sneaky hormones. Well, thank you, Dr. Yu. Thank you
Oh, I'm
for being here and helping us understand how the hormones might be getting in the way of our fun and what we can do about it, and that we're all human and we're here together to help each other. And thank you to the listener for being here and prioritizing fun in your life so that you can laugh and play and be you again, because that's who you need to be. And if this episode sparked something inside of you, please share it with a friend who also might be feeling a little blah or meh or not like themselves right now. And please subscribe to this podcast and share it around so more people can live their best lives and be who they need to be in their 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Woo-hoo,
Yeah.
we're going out swinging. So until next fun time, remember, go make yourself some fun. Mwah. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Treena.